The sun had just begun its slow climb over the horizon, casting a pale golden glow across the coastline. Waves shimmered like molten silver, stretching toward the shore in rhythmic pulses that whispered secrets of the deep. The air smelled of salt and seaweed, and every so often, a cool breeze brought a sharp tang of ozone, hinting at storms far beyond the visible horizon. Along the sand, small crabs scuttled, their tiny legs leaving intricate patterns on the wet earth, while seabirds wheeled overhead, their cries bright against the soft hum of the ocean. It was a morning that felt eternal, a fragile, perfect moment before the day's real drama had begun. Walking slowly along the edge of the surf was Mara, a marine conservationist whose passion for the creatures of the sea ran as deep as the waters themselves. Her feet sank slightly into the damp sand with each careful step, and her eyes never left the rolling waves. Mara's gaze was sharp but gentle, trained over years of watching the ocean for signs of life and distress. She had learned to notice the tiniest flicker beneath the water, a shadow that might be a turtle gliding past, a sudden swirl that could be a school of fish darting in synchronized harmony. Today, however, her heart pulled toward a smaller, more delicate presence, one she did not yet fully understand. A flash of silver broke the surface, and Mara's pulse quickened. Dolphins. Several of them leapt through the waves in joyful arcs, their bodies glistening under the morning sun. She watched as they sliced through the water, twisting effortlessly, their dorsal fins cutting the surface like polished knives. There was a beauty in their motion that seemed almost choreographed, a playful grace that mirrored the carefree rhythm of the sea itself. And yet, amid the dance of fins and splashes, one dolphin moved differently. It was smaller, less coordinated, and its leaps were weak, almost hesitant. It lingered near the shallow edge of the sandbar, struggling against the pull of the receding tide. Mara's heart tightened. The other dolphins swam past, unaware or perhaps unconcerned, leaving the young one isolated in the shallow, treacherous water. Its body was slick and silver, tiny scars faintly marking its skin, but its eyes were wide and alert, scanning, searching, and perhaps hoping for a rescue that seemed unlikely. She crouched low, letting the morning sun warm her shoulders as she moved closer to the water's edge. She could see the strain in the dolphin's small movements, its tail fin thrashing to maintain balance, its tiny pectoral fins paddling furiously yet achieving little. The sea, normally a cradle of life, had become a cage for this innocent creature. For a moment, Mara simply watched, holding her breath. There was a silence in the air, a stillness that was almost sacred. Even the seagulls seemed to pause mid-flight, wings outstretched, their cries muted by the weight of tension. The gentle hum of the waves became more insistent, as if the ocean itself was aware that something was wrong. And then she saw it, a shadow beneath the surface, large and slow-moving, cutting through the water with the deliberate power of a whale. It was distant, almost imperceptible, but its presence sent a shiver down her spine. There was a majesty in the whale's motion, a raw reminder that the ocean was both kind and dangerous, a place where innocence could be threatened and protected in equal measure. The young dolphin flinched as the shadow passed underneath, confusion flickering across its eyes. Mara stepped closer, water lapping at her ankles, her fingers grazing the surface as if she could already feel the animal's fear through the liquid barrier. Compassion swelled in her chest, an undeniable pull that demanded action. She knew the risks. She had been warned countless times about the unpredictability of the ocean. But looking at the baby dolphin struggling, vulnerable, and alone, the decision felt instinctive rather than deliberate. This was not a choice. It was a calling. The tide shifted subtly, a gentle but insistent reminder that the ocean was never still. Small ripples grew into rolling waves, brushing Mara's knees with increasing strength. She could see the sandbar. Beneath the water, a subtle ridge of light brown contrasting against the deeper blue. The dolphin's tiny body scraped against it, struggling, caught, trapped. Its gasps were silent above the waves, but visible in the trembling of its sleek skin and the frantic beating of its tail. Time seemed to slow. Every moment stretched endlessly. As Mara assessed her approach, heart hammering, mind racing yet strangely calm. For several long breaths, she remained there, observing, connecting silently with the small, helpless creature. The world beyond the coastline, the distant town, the morning walkers, the fishing boats, vanished from her awareness. There was only the dolphin, the sandbar, the whispering waves, and the enormous shadow beneath the surface, moving with quiet, almost mystical intent. The whale, though distant, seemed to sense the tension, adjusting its path to glide closer, a silent guardian whose intentions Mara could only guess at. The morning light danced on the water, glinting off tiny waves and shimmering scales, and, in that delicate play of shadow and silver, the ocean held its breath along with her. Mara stepped into deeper water, careful and deliberate, each movement slow so as not to alarm the baby dolphin. The water rose to her thighs, then her waist, cool and alive, brushing her skin with currents that carried both promise and danger. Every ripple seemed magnified, every splash amplified in her ears, every glance toward the dolphin a silent plea. She reached for it, fingers stretching toward the slippery, trembling body. The dolphin flinched, then stilled, as if sensing that help had arrived. In that instant, a bond formed, fragile yet unbreakable, a connection that transcended species and words. The world beyond the waves ceased to exist. There was only trust and the shared instinct to survive. She hovered there, half submerged. The ocean around her shifted once more. The whale moved with deliberate care, a massive shape gliding silently below the surface, circling the young dolphin as if to shield it. Mara's pulse raced, a mix of fear and awe, her senses alive to every movement, every shadow, every breath of water. She knew the calm of the morning was a fragile veneer, easily broken by tides, currents, or unseen predators. And yet, in this moment, the coastline felt sacred, as if the entire world had paused to witness the fragile dance of life and courage unfolding in its waters. For a brief, eternal moment, the scene held, a young dolphin trapped yet unbroken, a human heart willing to risk the sea, and a massive, unknowable whale gliding in protective silence beneath the waves. It was a prelude, a calm before the storm, a gentle breath before the tension of survival surged to its breaking point. The sun climbed higher, glinting on silver scales and rolling water, and Mara knew, with a certainty that chilled and inspired her at once, that nothing would ever feel the same again. The ocean had spoken, and she had heard. The ocean had changed. The gentle rhythm of the morning waves was gone, replaced by a restless, thrashing energy that sent Mara's heart hammering in her chest. The young dolphin was no longer struggling gently. Its small body pitched and twisted against the tide, each movement desperate, urgent. Water poured over its sleek back as it fought to stay afloat, and for the first time, its distress was audible, a high-pitched whistle, sharp and ragged, cutting through the roar of the surf. Mara's stomach dropped. The baby dolphin was drowning, trapped in the shallow sandbar that the morning tide had revealed. Without thinking, she kicked off the sand beneath her feet and plunged into the water. Cold shock burned her skin as waves slammed against her body, the current pulling at her with alarming strength. She fought forward, arms slicing through the water, her lungs screaming for air, but the dolphin was just ahead, its small fin flashing under the surface like a warning light. Each wave that broke over her face felt heavier than the last, each gust of wind slicing across the water like a blade. Mara's eyes burned with salt and fear, but she pushed on, driven by the helpless life before her. Beneath the surface, the ocean seemed alive in a way Mara had never fully understood. She glimpsed shadows moving in the deep, shapes so vast that the water trembled around them. Then she saw it, the whale. Its immense body cut a dark silhouette through the rolling waves, and for a moment, she froze. The sheer size of it was terrifying. Every instinct screamed at her to get out of the water, to retreat to safety, but the dolphin was so close. The whale's presence was a mystery, protective, perhaps, or indifferent. Mara couldn't tell. The uncertainty made her heart pound harder, and the sea around her felt alive with both danger and possibility. The waves battered her relentlessly. She gasped, water filling her mouth, and then swallowed the salt with determination. The baby dolphin thrashed violently against the sandbar, its energy fading as exhaustion crept into its small frame. Mara reached for it, her fingers brushing its slippery skin. It jerked instinctively, panic flashing in its dark, liquid eyes. She wrapped her arms carefully around its torso, trying not to hurt it as the waves slammed over both of them. The current pulled them sideways, tossing them as if they were weightless. Every breath was a fight, every motion a battle against the power of the ocean itself. The whale moved closer, gliding beneath them with a slow, deliberate grace. Its massive shadow stretched across the water, a dark curtain that pressed down on Mara and the dolphin. She could feel the energy of the creature vibrating through the waves, a subtle but undeniable force that made her shiver with awe and fear. The water churned violently as other dolphins began to circle, drawn by the cries of their young companion. Their sleek bodies flashed silver and gray, cutting through the foam as if the sea itself were alive with urgency. Mara's arms ached, her muscles burning, but she refused to let go. The dolphin's small body trembled against her chest, lungs rattling in tiny, desperate gasps. Time slowed. Each moment was drawn out, every second heavy with tension. The wind whipped the waves into frothing peaks, and the sound of the sea became deafening. Mara felt her strength waning. Her arms quivered, and fear gripped her like a vice. What if she couldn't make it? What if the dolphin slipped from her grasp? The thought burned in her mind, sharp and relentless. But then, in the midst of the chaos, she caught the dolphin's eye. There was recognition there, a glimmer of trust that anchored her courage. It was enough. It had to be enough. She shifted her grip, lifting the dolphin higher toward her chest, shielding it from the pounding surf. Waves crashed over them again, and she let herself be tossed, letting the water guide her while her determination held firm. Around them, the scene was almost apocalyptic in its beauty, the whale gliding silently beneath, its bulk casting a shadow of uncertainty. The frantic leaps of the other dolphins, the foaming, heaving water that seemed determined to sweep them apart. Mara felt her heart thundering in her ears, each beat synchronized with the wild rhythm of the sea. Fear, desperation, and a fierce surge of courage propelled her forward. At the peak of this struggle, the whale made its presence known. It rose partially from the water, a towering, graceful motion that sent a spray of mist into the air. Mara's breath caught. It was both terrifying and magnificent. For a heartbeat, predator and protector existed in the same frame, and she had no idea what the creature would do. But the whale did not attack. It circled, guiding the dolphin subtly with gentle nudges of its immense head and fins. The currents shifted under its influence, making Mara's task slightly easier, as if the whale had chosen to intervene in its own quiet, unknowable way. Exhaustion threatened to overtake her, every muscle in her body screaming for relief, but she could not stop. Not now. Not when the dolphin's life hung in the balance. Her movements became rhythmical, almost instinctive, balancing with the waves, pressing the small body towards safety. The surf raged around her, but in the eye of the storm, there was a fragile calm, a connection between human, dolphin, and whale that transcended understanding. Mara felt the weight of responsibility, the pure intensity of survival, and the raw, undeniable beauty of life in its most vulnerable form. Minutes passed like hours, every motion deliberate, every breath precious. The baby dolphin's struggles grew weaker, but Mara's determination never faltered. The whale remained nearby, moving with purpose, and Mara realized that in some way, they were all part of the same fragile ecosystem, different species, different scales, but connected in that single, urgent moment. She pressed the dolphin close, whispering words she did not expect to matter, but that somehow did. Reassurance, connection, empathy. It was enough to hold them together, enough to give her the courage to face the unrelenting sea. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Mara felt the water beginning to deepen beneath them. The sandbar was behind them, the dolphin no longer trapped. Its small body stiffened against her chest in exhaustion, but its breathing grew steadier. The waves still roared around them, and the whale continued to glide silently beneath, but the immediate danger had passed. Mara floated for a moment, letting the water carry them both, heart still pounding, muscles trembling with fatigue and relief. The dolphin nudged her gently, a subtle acknowledgement of the trust that had formed, and for the first time, she allowed herself to breathe fully, the ocean's chaos began to fade, the sun climbing higher, scattering light across the water's surface. Mara glanced down at the baby dolphin, its sleek form glistening, small but alive, and then at the massive shadow beneath them. The whale moved back into the deep, almost unseen, leaving behind only the memory of its presence, a quiet guardian of the young life she had fought to save. Around them, the other dolphins circled briefly, then vanished toward the horizon. Mara allowed herself a small smile, a mixture of awe and relief, knowing that the breaking point had passed, but that the memory of this moment, the fear, the desperation, the courage, would linger forever. For a final, fleeting moment, the water stilled. Sunlight glinted on the dolphin's wet skin, the sea reflected in her wide, alert eyes. The ocean, vast and unpredictable, had tested them, and in its own way, it had offered a form of mercy. Mara rested for a heartbeat in the warm embrace of the waves, feeling the pulse of life all around her, the fragile, fierce, and miraculous connection that had made survival possible. And as the first gentle swells carried them toward deeper waters, she knew that this was only the beginning of the journey, a prelude to revelations yet to come, where trust, courage, and the unpredictable heart of nature would shape the story still unfolding. Mara's arms ached, her muscles trembling as she clung to the small dolphin, her body half submerged in the calmer yet still churning water. The panic that had gripped her heart only moments ago now lingered as a low hum of exhaustion, leaving her senses alert to every ripple, every whisper of the sea. The dolphin's breathing had slowed, shallow but steady, and its dark eyes, wide and alert, blinked slowly, trusting her with a fragile faith that felt almost sacred. She had fought against the pull of the tide, against the chaos of the surf, and now, as relief began to brush against her fear, another presence made itself known beneath the surface. The whale emerged with deliberate, unhurried grace, its enormous bulk gliding through the water with a fluid power that seemed almost otherworldly. It approached the baby dolphin and Mara with a silent authority, moving in slow, sweeping arcs that shifted the surrounding waves. For a heartbeat, Mara froze, unsure of its intentions. The same creature that had inspired fear just moments ago now radiated a quiet guardianship, a presence that felt protective rather than threatening. The whale nudged the dolphin gently with its massive head, guiding it away from the shallow sandbar and toward the open, deeper water. Mara followed, letting herself be carried by the current as the enormous animal led the way, a silent conductor orchestrating the final movement of this tense, dramatic symphony. The water calmed, waves breaking gently against the coastline rather than crashing violently over them. Light reflected across the surface in shimmering patterns, silver turning to gold as the sun climbed higher. Mara floated beside the dolphin, arms still wrapped protectively around it, watching as the small creature began to regain strength. Its tail fin flicked with renewed energy, its pectoral fins slicing through the water with grace and confidence that had been absent only moments before. Mara could hardly believe her eyes as the dolphin, guided by the whale's gentle nudges, started swimming in perfect synchrony alongside the massive guardian. It was a dance of trust, of instinct and empathy, a connection that transcended species. Leaving her breathless with awe, she allowed herself to let go, slowly lowering the dolphin into the gentle current while keeping a hand near its side, ready to intervene if needed. The baby dolphin responded with a small, joyful leap, surfacing to exhale in a rush of misty bubbles. The whale moved beside it, nudging it forward again, the two creatures forming a tableau of harmony and protection that seemed almost impossible, yet entirely real. Mara's chest swelled with emotion, relief, awe, gratitude, all blending into a single, overwhelming wave. She had witnessed fear, desperation, and survival, and now, in this quiet aftermath, she was seeing mercy and guardianship in their purest, most natural form. The world around them had changed. The ocean, once chaotic and threatening, now felt alive with a serene energy, a rhythm that was both soothing and powerful. Seagulls wheeled overhead, their cries echoing lightly across the calm waves, and the sunlight glittered on droplets of water clinging to Mara's skin and the dolphin's sleek body. Every breath she drew seemed in harmony with the water, every heartbeat synchronized with the gentle rise and fall of the waves. She had never felt more alive, more connected to the natural world. And yet she also felt the humility that comes from witnessing something greater than oneself, a reminder that life and survival are rarely just human concerns. Mara's eyes followed the pair as they glided further into the deep water. The whale, massive and graceful, continued to shepherd the young dolphin, each movement deliberate, careful, and filled with purpose. The dolphin responded, moving in tandem, its small leaps and turns perfect echoes of the whale's deliberate guidance. For Mara, it was a moment suspended in time, a rare glimpse of the ocean's secret choreography, a story of trust and compassion written in the language of waves and fins. She could feel the dolphin's strength returning, the vitality that had been nearly extinguished by fear and exhaustion. And she understood, with a quiet certainty, that this bond, between creatures of such different scales and species, was a testament to the unexpected kindness hidden in nature's vast, unpredictable heart. Floating on her back, Mara let the water support her weary body, letting the sun warm her chilled skin. The baby dolphin swam in gentle arcs around the whale, playful yet careful, testing its strength, exploring its new freedom. The ocean seemed to exhale around them, a deep, resonant sigh that carried both relief and reverence. Mara closed her eyes briefly, letting the sounds of the sea, the soft lapping of waves, the rush of air from the dolphin's breath, the subtle movement of the whale beneath the surface, wash over her. There was a sacred stillness in this moment, a silence filled with meaning, a reminder that even in a world often cruel and unpredictable, acts of courage and mercy can create miracles. She thought of the early morning calm, the playful leaps of the dolphins that had first caught her attention, and the sudden, terrifying surge of waves that had threatened to take the young dolphin from her. She remembered the raw terror, the desperation, the fierce instinct to survive and protect. And now, in this quiet moment of reflection, she understood the full spectrum of what she had witnessed. The ocean could destroy, and it could nurture. Fear could consume, and courage could save. And trust could bridge the impossible, connecting species, hearts, and instincts in ways that defied explanation. The whale nudged the dolphin one last time, and the baby responded with a joyful leap, spinning briefly in the sunlight before diving into the deep. Mara watched them move toward the horizon, their forms growing smaller, silhouettes against the glittering sea. Her chest ached with both relief and sorrow. The relief that the dolphin was safe, the sorrow of knowing that she would soon lose sight of it. But even in that loss, there was beauty. The moment would linger in her memory, a story she could carry forever, a reminder of the delicate balance between vulnerability and courage, danger and mercy. As the distance grew between them, Mara floated in quiet reflection, the water rocking her gently, the sunlight scattering across the surface in golden sparks. The coastline stretched behind her, familiar and grounding, while ahead, the vast ocean remained a place of mystery and possibility. She understood now that the world was neither cruel nor kind, but something greater, unpredictable, alive, capable of both peril and grace. The dolphin and the whale, moving together in harmony, had shown her a truth she could never forget, that even in the wildest, most dangerous places, compassion and courage could exist. Silently, beautifully, and powerfully. Finally, Mara let her arms fall into the water, the tension leaving her body in slow waves. She took one last look at the horizon, where the dolphin and whale were now tiny shapes on the endless sea, and felt a quiet awe settle deep in her chest. The morning had begun in peace, erupted into chaos, and now, in this calm, she saw the full story of life, its fragility, its wonder, and the quiet miracles that happen when courage meets trust. The sun glinted on the surface one last time, painting the water in gold and silver, and Mara closed her eyes, feeling the pulse of the ocean beneath her, carrying the memory of what she had witnessed, a story of survival, mercy, and the profound connection that binds all creatures of the sea.